Hello everybody, greetings, my name is Jesse, this is the Auditorium, welcome. In this video I'll be doing a top 20 songs, in my opinion, of Final Fantasy IX. It is a game that I discovered here on the channel through the music, and I'll talk more about that a little later. And then because the music was so cool, I ended up playing the game and I recently just completed it. So before the video starts, I just want to reiterate, of course, these are my opinions, so they will differ from yours. That's cool. Doesn't mean I'm wrong or you're wrong, or I'm right or you're right. They're just opinions. What I decided to do for this one is basically just have as much variety as possible, but also the ones that I truly felt were the top 20. Also, there's 110 or so songs in this, so getting it down to 20, pretty damn hard. Anyways, let us begin with number 20. At number 20, we are starting with Sword of Doubt, aka the Wavering Blade. And man, was it hard to even start it here. And I'm going to be honest, this was originally not even going to make my list. I was going to have this in the honorable mentions, and then I swapped it with a song you'll hear later in the honorable mentions. So Sword of Doubt / Wavering Blade is the kind of main theme or main battle theme of Beatrix, who is an interesting character to say the least. And one of the few songs in the game that have no percussion, and whenever there's no percussion, I've noticed in Final Fantasy, it's a pretty serious ordeal, and it just kind of lets the song breathe quite a bit, and it's very ominous and sounds kind of creepy. And based on this song alone, I had no idea ever that she would potentially end up in the party, because it just sounds so boss music and evil, right? So also another thing about it is that it features kind of a very interesting musical thing that I don't think I've heard before, which is kind of this style of strumming, which is called abanico. I'll explain that in a bit, with kind of gothic overtones and dark piano. I don't really heard that before. So what that is, I'm pretty sure I briefly mentioned this. Oh, by the way, I also heard this song as a reaction video before I played the game, and I mentioned this too, that it's a strumming pattern called it lives in a family called rasgueado or rasgueo, and the technique is called abanico, which is fan, because your hand basically goes like this. I don't know the exact chord that gets used, but it's something like that little that thing. That's all over the song, and it doesn't go away. And it just adds this kind of weird, tense dynamic that, because of that, that's kind of the reason that I just had to put it on the list. It's such a cool, you're going to hear me say cool a lot, but it's a very bizarre song. And something you're going to notice with all these songs that it's so hard to rank them. You know, some of these can be 10, or it's just, let's just pretend they're all number one to make it easier. But anyways, Sword of Doubt, or the Wavering Blade. Oh, by the way, the name of that, I don't know what it means, but now I'm guessing it has to do with the story of, you know, her and then switching sides, so that's where the doubt comes. I don't know. Anyways, Sword of Doubt, Beatrix theme, really cool. Also, her hair is amazing. Number 19 on this list is Burmecia, or the Kingdom of Burmecia, a song that I believe plays, I think, right before number 20. So for those that have played this game, you kind of just know that feeling as soon as those first chords hit. You know that feeling of just dread and rain, and this, you know, there's a good reason why I put this here. Originally, also this was not going to be on my list. It was, I mean, obviously I love the song, but it wasn't, you know, I didn't think it was like a top contender. But then, you know, I didn't want to make this video as soon as the playthrough was done. I wanted to let my brain breathe, hear the songs on their own again, you know, and then just have memories back, and, you know, not just make a haste decision. But when it came to Burmecia, it's just this, I mean, every town you enter is going to have that feeling again, like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like. But Burmecia just feels like just sorrow and barren, and it goes so well with the rain. It's obviously eternal rain, and there's just a whole lot of sadness involved with characters and all that good stuff, but I don't want to get into that. It's just mostly another song that doesn't have percussion, so it really makes you think. It sounds very wide open. But another thing that I'm sure a lot of people noticed, but maybe some haven't, is that these are the exact same chords of Freya's theme. So if you just imagine Freya's theme on top of these chords, they line up perfectly. So it obviously has to do with the character. And another thing about it is, I was talking to my Twitch chat about their favorite songs. And someone asked me, oh no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. People were asking me just like a Q&A about my playthrough with FF9. And someone asked me a very interesting question, and they asked me, not my favorite song, but what song I thought went best with the setting, and I never really thought about that before. That's like, okay. So I had to really think about that, and I had a couple of different answers, but this one came to mind as well, because the connection of the setting, story, and song make Burmecia just kind of pop the hell out. So for me, music is obviously a huge storytelling device. You're going to see that in these coming numbered entries. It's not all about the bangers, quote unquote, or like memorable type songs. For me, it was at that moment what it did it paint the story, etc., etc. So you're going to notice that a lot. There's going to be a lot of variety here, which is another word I'm going to be talking about later. So, number 19, Kingdom of Burmecia. Number 18 on this list is Court Jesters, or Jesters of the Moon, everybody's favorite twin jesters, Zorn and Thorn's theme. You know what's funny about this song is there's probably a couple people that are, I can see half and half. People were like, why is this here? And then also, oh yeah, this song deserves, all the love. So this one, speaking of variety, which I just talked about, I feel this is the genius of the variety of Nobuo Uematsu, who can do these kind of songs that add to these characters so much. And something I found very interesting, and I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but I've noticed in all 3 videos I've done, which is the top 20 for FF7, 8, and now this one, some of the best songs are attached to characters I hate. In 7, it was Ketchi. In 8, it was Ultimecia. And here it's Zorn and Thorn. But that's what makes it good. So I'm not going to discredit a song because the characters are, whatever. That's what they're for. That's what they're meant to do. They're meant to antagonize and be a nuisance. Another thing is this kind of has, speaking of variety, it has like a little hip hop style. There's like a beat. It's a really cool like instrumental beat. If you took away all the context and just put a rapper over it, like maybe like Tech 9, if you've ever heard of him, something like that, like one of those kind of strange type of rappers, it would work. It's just a cool thing, and it also fits them quite a bit because it sounds very carnival-like, and they're jesters, so it sounds like a mixture of evil, circus, and like even if I didn't know what the characters look like, it sounds like what they are. It sounds like an evil circus and just kind of almost like taunting you type of song. And I have to give her credit for that. It's a very unique song. It shakes up the playlist. It may not be someone's immediate thought, oh, I forgot that song was even there. And it's another one that doesn't even play that much. So I have to give credit to. I really like Court Jesters. It comes on quite a bit in my walking playlist, and it's cool. Maybe it's one of those that you should kind of pay more attention to. But that is my number 18. Number 17 on my list is Aboard the Hildegard, the airship theme, or at least one of them. I'm going to be honest about this one. This one was kind of a last-minute pick as I was choosing, and I thought to myself, obviously, for me to put it in the list, it has to be listened to more than others, and I just catch myself gravitating towards a song more than others, so I have to just, it's instinct. I have to put it in. And I caught myself listening to this a lot outside of the game, and then I realized why that is, and that's because I missed it. It only appears in the game for, I don't know the exact length, but not too long, right? It's maybe a disc worth or something, And I thought to myself, this is a really cool theme. And then I thought to myself more, I'm like, actually, in my opinion, this is my favorite theme. I'm not going to say it's the best because that's obviously suggestive, but to me, it's my favorite theme, airship theme out of 7, 8, and 9. For those that don't know, I've only played 7, 8, and now 9. And not to take away from 8, 8 is really good, 7 is really good, but for me, this one was really good. And I thought to myself, I have to also kind of give love to the airship themes. Those are kind of iconic. And it's just one of those songs where, when I was streaming, every time it came on, like the chat would start like doing dancing emotes and all that, and I would always start humming it, dun, 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 dun. And it sounds odd. It sounds hopeful. It sounds like it's gonna be okay. But what it really came down to is I just missed it, because once you get towards the end of the game, it goes into one of my least favorite songs actually the whole game, and that's that little, I don't even know what it's called, but it's that little dun dun dun, where it's all dark, and it doesn't change whether you're flying or in the world. It just took away from me, so I missed it. I ended up missing it, and I was like, oh yeah, this song is cool. So that's why it's there. Also, of course, context helps a bit here with the whole Hilda thing and Sid and blah blah blah, but that doesn't really add too much to the music. But the music is good. I talked a lot about it, but it's just very simple answer. It's just a good song, and it's my favorite airship theme that I've heard thus far. Number 16 on my list is Lindblom. This is an interesting song because I've heard some people are kind of divided on this one. They don't like it, they do like it. For me, personally, I don't see how you couldn't like it. Because what I was saying earlier about like drawing a picture and, getting the setting right, I cannot think of another song that could fit Lindblom. Lindblom is so quirky and weird that it also was my favorite town. I like the idea of like a huge castle on with all the mechanical stuff all over the place. It was super cool. But also, just think about everything that goes on there. I wrote them down here. So we have the pickles lady. We have the cloud reference in the store. Lowell and the people chasing him around. The one guy who said like I have to take a dump or something. Like, it's just such a weird, crazy town, but it's just, that's what the song is. So when I say it paints a picture, I envision let's say I'm reading a book about Lindblom or like a visual novel or something. If I was reading it and I heard this in the background, it would fit so well. So, obviously some people will be like, well, yeah, of course that's why it's there. But, for the most part, well, I guess we're just not entirely sure. At least I'm not. I don't think anybody truly is. Knows when songs are made prior to the game, after, or let me rephrase that, prior to knowledge of where it goes and stuff like that, right? So maybe it was written because of the context, maybe it was written before the context. Sometimes that happens. Who knows? But in this case, it just happened to work either or. And another thing about it is that it's the home of Tantalus, which also is kind of quirky and weird and all this there, like in a bell tower or whatever that is. So it works. Musically, it's the most important thing. Musically, it's really good. It's got all these percussion elements. The bass is everywhere. There's so much bass in the song. It's actually one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most like low end type of songs. It's really good with like a good sound system or something like in your car. So I don't know if it's people that are just kind of hesitant towards like their distaste of Lindblom itself or something, but I think the song totally fits where it goes, and it's a banger. So Lindblom. Number 15 on my list is Roses of May, aka Rose of May. But I'm also kind of doing like a 2-in-1, combining it with something to protecting my devotion, and that's when Steiner and Beatrix are fighting together. Now, of course, the main song, Roses of May, it's, I'm gonna be totally honest. It's a bit repetitive, and that's why it probably didn't go any higher. But it's just one of those things where it kind of comes out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it to play there. This is another one that I heard before I played the game, so I was really, really curious when it was going to happen, and I can just tell you that I did not expect it there. And it's just one of those things that it just has a lot going for it as far as like it's just a piano ballad. It's a super memorable melody that people probably you can probably hear it right now humming it in your head. I know people that started playing piano because of this, stuff like that. It's just one of those iconic songs, even though it doesn't have a lot going on. It's just pretty much one melody repeating over and over and over. The initial melody is that strong that it can last, and it just kind of shows that like the less is more approach when it comes to that kind of stuff. And as far as the other one, the Beatrix and Steiner song, it's pretty much the same thing, except it has that more tense dynamic of them fighting, but then it has the same melody, but in a more kind of like trumpet type way. Either way, I felt that it would be not right to not include this, just because it's so... I can't really put my finger on it. It's a really good song with not a lot going for it. As far as musically, it's all context and just a really strong melody, but it is probably one of the more repetitive songs. This is not a bad thing. It's just, it's still in the top 15 for me. So I just want to reiterate that like any of these things here, these are just my honest opinions, but these also beat out 100 other songs. So Rose of May, just because it's 15 doesn't mean it's no good. Like it's still one of my favorite songs. It's super catchy, and it's quite emotional. And also, Best Boy Steiner got he got the girl. So go Big Stein. Boom, 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 boom. Bam. Number 14 is Amarant's theme. I don't know if it has a name. I think it's just called Amarant's theme, aka Red. The character that people are unsure if they like or not. I ended up liking him a lot. He's a pretty clutch character. He's very mysterious. Reminds me of Vincent from FF7, kind of just standoffish, little oddball. His posture looks horrible, but it's okay. Apparently he's human, even though he's a weird character. But that is why I actually think the song fits him. It's a very mysterious sounding song. Obviously, it is bathed in synthwave. Like if you just imagine the song playing and a bunch of pink and blue triangles and all that, all that synthwave stuff that it comes with, it fits totally well. It also sounds kind of like the movie Scarface, which I really like. It's just such a weird song. But again, this goes with the whole diversity thing. So I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but this soundtrack is extremely diverse. And the reason of that is because, at least my opinion, is because this game is very, magical. It's very fantasy. 8 was kind of on this more realistic side-ish, if you want to say that. 7 was this kind of steampunk thing. But you know what I'm saying? 9 is just like, we got all these kingdoms and flying castles, whatever. So the music is a little all over the place. And this just shows even more varieties. For example, we're on 14. We've pretty much have heard 6 different genres already. So it's a combination for me of actually liking the character. I didn't love the character, just thought he was kind of misunderstood, which I think also kind of fits with his whole persona. Is just kind of just whatever. Bleh. But it's a mixture of liking the character, and the theme doesn't play all that often. If something, like the first time I heard it, I don't know what was going on. He just kind of showed up out of nowhere, and just everything surrounding him was just confusing me. And then the song did the same thing, because I was like, oh, it's back on. And I think it plays maybe a total of like less than 5 times, something like that. I'm a big sucker for synth. I'm a big sucker for synth wave. I'm a big sucker for bass and good drums, and that's all here. So it really fits his weird, unorthodox style, and it's just yet another variety song in this wild game. So, Amarant's theme. Number 13 on my list is The Village of Dali, or The Frontier Village Dali. This is, to me, something I noticed in the FF games that I've played, is another one of these kind of quintessential mellow town themes. 7 had Calm, 8 had Fisherman's Horizon, and then this one be Dolly. At least in my opinion, those they all kind of share a similar quality. This is the laid back song, or the laid back village theme. This one actually reminds me quite a bit of Fisherman's Horizon, a lot. As far as the melodies, setting, obviously not water, but you know, it just has the same vibe. Let's just say that, keep it simple. But there's a lot to talk about of Village of Dolly, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but let's see what I wrote down here. Well, it has this really interesting thing where you can hear finger slides of an acoustic guitar, and it made me think. I've never heard. I don't think. It's hard to tell. In this era, this like 2000, 1999, 2001 era, I don't know, and it's hard to tell if real instruments were recorded, or if it was half and half, or it's all MIDI and it sounds just really good. Because if you have finger slides, like when you hear an acoustic guitar and you hear that little, which you probably never even heard, you have to kind of listen for them, but they're there. It makes you think, is this an actual guitar performance, or did they emulate that? Because if they emulated that, that's pretty unique. I've never heard of that. And well done if they did, because I have no idea. It kind of clashes worlds. I'm like, is this real or is this not real? You know, what, air quotes. But what else? We got the second half is the flute section, which I really enjoyed. But without getting too much into it, there is a big reason why I think the song is universally loved. Besides the melody, of course, it is really beautiful and catchy, and it's just one of those. But let's just say that I will reveal later on in the video why you may like the song more than you probably realize. Just stick with me on that one. But for now, The Village of Dolly is an incredible, peaceful, beautiful song. Number 12 on my list is Over the Hill, aka Crossing Those Hills, also the world map theme. Now, I would like to apologize at the beginning, because when I heard this song for the first time, it was a reaction video before I played the game, and I remember being confused, because I was aware it was the world map theme, which is usually I have no context, but this time I did, and I honestly didn't really connect with it back then. I didn't say it was bad per se, but I just didn't see how that was a world theme, and it was just kind of, anyways, that was super off, so ignore all that. I should just delete that video, because this song is unbelievably an earworm that every single time it came on, it's one of those songs that without you even thinking about it, you're just like, It's just such a nice melody. It's so easy to hum along and whistle. It puts you at ease. And the thing about a song like this is that it's incredibly nostalgic. Even if, like, you know, I just beat the game. So some of you may have 20, 30 years that know this song, or 20 something years, not 30. But for me, I only have a month. I have like 2 months with it, and it still feels nostalgic. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still gonna remember it 20, 30 years from now, because it's just one of those absolutely simple melodies that can work on any instrument all the time. And just as a fun fact, I was seeing my friend play that new rhythm game that Square has, Theatre Rhythm, I think it's called. And I don't think they ever heard the song, and they were playing it, and by the end of it, they're like, that's just a really nice song. And they didn't speak the whole, you know, playthrough of it, because it just kind of grabs your attention. At the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing I felt with the Hildegard song. And I just missed it. You know, I miss going around the world and then hearing that. I judged it too quickly, where it sounded like water at first with the whole like intro bubble thing. So I was way off about that song being kind of weird, because it's not weird. I'm weird. But it's such a great it's such a great world map theme, and I just ended up missing it, and that was it. It's just kind of, you know, wish it didn't go away. I really didn't like that Disc 4 song. I just can't. Yeah. If that wasn't I would put that in my top 20 of least favorite, but that's not here or there. Anyways, Over the Hill, the world map theme, incredible, incredible song, and unbelievably catchy. Number 11 on my list is Song from Her Memory, otherwise known as Song of Memories. This one was interesting because as soon as I heard it for the first time, I knew I liked it. There is just something about very natural vocal styles of just, I don't know what the proper term is here, if there is a musical term for this, but you know, when you have a song that has oohs, ahs, la, you know, just vowel type sounds, those immediately are meant to be sung back. Crowd will sing it, you will sing it. My favorite song in the entire planet has that. If you're curious, that is The Horse with No Name by America. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as the chorus hits. And every time I hear stuff like that, my ears light up because it's just like the most raw, basic thing when it comes to music. Like, I always imagine, you know, hundreds and thousands of years ago when people were making sounds and things and constructing the first things we know as music. You know, they didn't have intricate vocal lines and all that. They were just, you know, stuff like that. So it's something as simple as this, la, 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 right? That it's just, it transcends time. Well, it's timeless, but it's just, I can't explain it. It's just really, really good. It'll never get old. And when something can remind me of my favorite song ever, I'm going to be a little biased towards it. Also, speaking of bias, I don't know if people know this, but every time I've done any sort of lullaby type song on my channel, I'm extremely biased towards that. Then this is pretty much a lullaby. It's like the lullaby of the game in a way. I don't know what it is about lullabies. It just always gets me. I guess it's the memories, no pun intended, of, you know, just being a kid, being kind of just free, the world is open and nothing matters, that kind of thing. So it's a really nice, beautiful human feeling. And just as a side note, speaking of this song, which makes it kind of like the extra layer, I don't know if they were inspired by this, but I definitely had some like Little Mermaid vibes, because when Ariel loses her voice, obviously she can't talk. Same with Garnet or Dagger. And she sings a song that's kind of in that similar vein with the whole la. So it was just reminding me of a lot of good, again, no pun intended, memories. And it's just such a beautiful melody. That's it. There's nothing else to explain. It is a beautiful, beautiful song. Entering the top 10, number 10 on my list, is Madain Sorry. I never knew how to say the name, but I'm pretty sure it's Madain Sorry. Also, similar to Burmecia, when someone asks me what I think really fits with the setting, right here. Madain Sorry is something about this song. First of all, flutes that sound like that are always going to immediately catch my attention. Do, 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 do. If you haven't noticed, FF9 has a lot of earworms. And this is another one. But this song is interesting because it's kind of like two songs in one. So it starts off with this really nice flute part, and you know, it really fits with all the rocks and everything, the sunset. And then we have this sort of second section where like accordions come in, because why not? I love the sound of accordions. Some people don't. I think accordions, when they're used properly, which is always, it just adds another layer of, whoa, what is that? And this time, you know, we get these big tribal drums out of nowhere, which to me fits with the whole like summon vibe and the whole like other wall section. Whereas the flutes and all that reminds me of like the water side. And so it kind of, in a way, fits both sections of the map, if you want to call it like that. But the second half has this, at least with me, has this phenomenon where it becomes like its own song that you kind of forget about the first part of it. So when it loops again, you're like, oh yeah, dun 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 dun. Dun. It's such, I don't know, I couldn't like grasp my head around them. Like, it really sounds like two different songs, but yet they're so connected. That's the only way I can explain it. It doesn't make sense, but to me, it's number 10. It's extremely catchy and it sounds really cool. And yet another diverse variety genre. I don't even know what this is. If you can name this genre, let me know. But it's cool. It's Medane. Sorry. Number 9 on my list, and a fitting way to go with the number 9 because it's the end of 9, is the final battle, aka the battle with Necron. Some people said this called Grand Cross, but to my knowledge, that is the Black Mage's version only, which I have not heard, and I am dying too. Speaking of Grand Cross, that's the worst move in the game. I hated it with my life. But the thing about this song is very weird for me, because it was in so many places. It was number 20, it was number 15, and now it's, I just went with 9 because, bizarre enough, there's parts of the song I do not like. And they're really minor stuff, but for example, like the whole minute and 20 long intro, I just skip all that. That's not even important, it doesn't even matter. And that's the whole build up with the whole like moaning and I just cut all that out. Just start right at the do 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 do, right? That's when the song starts to me. Once that happens, this song, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really care for at first. Another one I heard before I played the game, and it might have been the last song I heard before I started playing the game. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was. This song, like I said, I heard last, so I heard Dark Messenger first, and it just was in this unfortunate spot of like, oh man, I don't think anything's gonna top Dark Messenger. So it was this kind of conflict of, do I really like this song? It's the final boss song. Like, I feel like I really should like this song. So it's a weird one. I really, really like it for what it is. But I can't stand the moaning stuff. Of course, context matters. It's, duh. I know why it's there. But musically, it distracts me from it, and I hate it. But on the plus side, there is a bright side to this. The transition from the beginning of the fight to when that song actually plays is super genius. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But when it goes from that and then the doo-doo-doo-doo starts, then it all makes sense. But as a song by itself, get it out of here. But in the fight, super dope. So I just had to mention that. It was a long intro for that. The song really grew on me. I didn't appreciate it fully until after the fact. Because before the game, I had no context. And it followed Dark Messenger, so it unfortunately just didn't live up to it at the time. And then during the fight, I'm trying not to die from 20 status ailments. So listening to it back again, I'm like, oh dude, this song is pretty sick. And it really is. It has some of the coolest percussion in the game, some of the greatest synth work, all the prog stuff, it all comes out here. Nobuo is having fun here. He's pressing buttons. Also, we do the halftime feel. The organ is everywhere. There's this one part that sounds really tense besides the whole song, where it just really gets stuck in my head, where it's like dun 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 dun, and that keeps repeating. There's something just really odd about this song where I feel like I don't like it, but I do. And it's mostly I do. It's like 90-10 ratio, but that 10, it's just really those moans. I just wish they took them out. It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just me griping about it. But the final song is a really good final boss song. I will say that. But it did have to grow on me, and it took more than 2 or 3 listens for that to happen, which is kind of bizarre. But anyways, that's my number 9, is the battle with Necron, the final battle. Number 8 on my list is Freya's theme, but also a 2-for-1. is Unforgettable Silhouette / Forgotten Face. And I'm going to talk about both of them. The other one is the song where Sir Fratley makes appearances. So Freya's theme is one of those, again, I heard before I started playing the game, and that one I really enjoyed before I played it, even without context or anything, because it sounds so emotional. It's one of the most emotional songs. Not even, I mean, everything. The intro, dun 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 dun, dun, and then obviously the main melody. It's very sorrow. It's very pain and internal. And guess who it's related to? One of the saddest characters in the game. And I mean that in a context way, because Freya is obviously, a very powerful opponent, very powerful party member, and strong-willed person, but like everything bad happens to her. It's really sad. And this song really kind of fits that. In a way, it's like powering through the sadness. It may sound a little odd, but I try to imagine the main melody dun, 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 is to be kind of more of her internal thoughts, and the harpsichord going in the background is like the powering through it, like dun 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 dun. So it kind of has this like multi-dimensional type of thing. But speaking of the harpsichord, it has a harpsichord sound. The harpsichord is basically a piano, looks like a piano. It has black keys, but instead of hammering the strings, they're plucking the strings. So it has a very plucked type sound. So if you ever look on YouTube and you look up a Freya theme cover and you hear a piano version of it, it may sound a little off. Actually, it's going to sound like Unforgettable Silhouette, because that one's a piano. Whereas if you hear like an acoustic version of it, it'll sound a lot closer because it has that twanginess to it. The harpsichord is a really cool instrument, and the choice for it, who knows why, but it just works. Now, the other one, I really didn't want to choose, so I just put them together, is Unforgettable Silhouette. And, obviously, to add more to the pain train is Sir Fratley, which, if you know the story, it's just more sadness, and it's a very interesting dynamic of a song, because it's the same thing, just a little more on the sentimental side. It's not as intense. But it sounds just a slight bit more hopeful. So in a way, it's kind of like foreshadowing some good news. The best way I can describe the song is, I don't mind you, I don't remember if this plays here. I could be wrong. I could have just looked it up, but I didn't. But I feel the scene where they're both at the fountain pretty much encapsulates how this song sounds, where it's dark and gloomy and sad, but there's this, hopeful, nice, beautiful moment. So I can't choose between both of them. To me, they're both the same. They can live together. They're different enough, yet similar enough to live together. And that's kind of fitting with the two characters. But overall, Freya's theme, in general, again, it's also the main melody of Bermesia, which we heard earlier. It's just a really iconic song, and I don't know the mood that it gives me. On some moments, it makes me think this is kind of motivating, but at the same time, it makes me not want to do anything, and it's just sad. So, shout out to Freya, but it's all going to be okay. But that's my number 8. It's Freya's theme / Unforgettable Silhouette. Number 7 on my list is the Black Mage Village, a lot of people's favorite song. It's a doozy. Let's talk about it. First of all, I want to get something odd out of the way. Obviously, this is Vivi's theme, but just kind of enhanced times 20,000. My first initial I've heard this before I played the game, and I loved it. It's very different. It's very cool. It's very suave, and it's very different. But when I got into that part of the game and I saw the setting and then got to know the story, I know this may sound kind of odd and maybe like a hot take, but in a way, it kind of, to me, it didn't really fit the Black Mage Village. Let me explain. What I mean by that is the whole Vivi thing is really pretty sad. The whole town and I don't want to get too much into the story, but it's kind of sad. Everything's kind of hollow, and they make do with what they have, type of thing. But when I hear this song, I think of like kind of like a theme park or something, maybe like Gold Saucer. But it's a really good song that's like very uplifting, super catchy, very good instrumentation. Every single time it came on, I have a little VV Twitch emote that's going like this, and every single time that that song came on, my chat would just explode with like VV emotes. And it's a lot of people's favorite song, and it's an incredible song. So I don't want people to think that I don't like it just because I said that. It's just, I don't know how else to explain that. It just, when I figured what Black Mage Village looked like based on that song, that wasn't it. And then when I found out more about VV and everything else, it's an odd choice, I guess. But then again, I don't really know what else could go there. I don't know. It's a weird, conflicting one for me. But the song itself, there's no debate. The song is just, bow, 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 bow. It makes you want to move. It's a very danceable song. It's tough because I actually really like VV's theme by itself, but there's like no denying the Black Mage Village song is one of the absolute best in this top 20. Man, it's so hard to pick 20. But yes, Black Mage Village, number 7, go VV. Number 6 on my list is Dark Messenger, aka The Darkness of Eternity. One of the first, I think the second song I heard ever in Final Fantasy IX. And what a second introduction that was. So my original thought about this song is that it was the original final boss song, but it was not. Obviously, it's the sub boss, but it is Kuja. And what I like about this song, besides everything, is that it definitely builds up to it throughout the whole game. We're hearing all these themes of Kuja with this huge organ, just bah, bah, just building tension, and then it almost sounds like for a little bit it's gonna happen here too, and then all of a sudden the song just morphs. So it's like the whole game kind of like built up for it, and that's what makes it really special to me. Super dark, very catchy. There's this thing about it that I'm gonna make a safe assumption here, and I don't know this. It's just straight up an assumption based on what I know about Nobuo Uematsu and Prague and whatever. And I've heard from people that FF9 is one of his favorite soundtracks. I feel like this song has to be somewhere in his personal top 20 of songs he's created for Final Fantasy. I don't know what's making me think that. I never read that or heard that, but like you can tell like he's having fun with it. There's prog all over the place. To me, this song has arguably either second or the best keys. All the keys, organ, synth, fast synth, slow synth, the isolated key piano part. There's just so many keys. keyboard everywhere. It's just great. Then we have that little Black Sabbath type riff. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if there's a Black Mage's version of this. Not that it matters, but I feel like it would totally work. But the thing about this song, which is also another thing I should mention, again, I have context now. It's really weird because I usually don't have context, but now I do. Is Kuja definitely grew on me. I didn't care at all for Kuja. At first I thought he was going to be just a really weak antagonist, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, okay, sure. But over time, of course, he really starts to get kind of under your skin, and he really makes you hate him, which is good. So it's a good thing. And then we find the twist out at the end, and it all makes sense. So, and then the name, of course, starts to make sense. For a long time, I was curious, why is it called Dark Messenger? What? Now I get it. So overall, I think this is one of the best. Not only one of the best songs in Final Fantasy IX, it's number 6, but it's one of the best kind of like final endgame type songs in a video game, period, that I've heard. It's pretty damn good. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's pretty damn good. So Dark Messenger, the Darkness of Eternity, really cool because of the huge build up throughout the whole game. And the fight with Kuja, pretty epic, and his Silver Dragon. Well, I think that was a different song. Anyways, Dark Messenger. Sick. Number 5 on my list is Vamos Allá Flamenco. The first song I ever heard from Final Fantasy IX. What an introduction. Actually, the first time I heard the song was from Final Fantasy XIV. And then I really loved that song. And then people were like, no, it's actually from 9. And then I heard that one. And so this was my introduction to Final Fantasy IX. And man, what a start. For those that don't know, I have been playing... I play multiple styles of guitar, but I've been playing like flamenco nylon style for about 10 of my 20 years playing. And, you know, so I'm extremely biased when it comes to nylon guitar, flamenco stuff, classical stuff. Of course, obviously. But besides that, you don't have to know anything about music to like this song. Everyone that hears this song pretty much universally likes it. It's the melody is so strong that it's like a lot of these in this list, but it's just so dang strong. And then they do it with the other instrument later on with the string section. This one goes a little bit above and beyond for me for a couple reasons. One, it's completely, for me and probably for a lot of people, I'm not sure. I don't know about the first 6 games, but I'm assuming that this song kind of like came out of nowhere as far as like Nobuo catalog. That's just a guess. Because up until that point, for me, I've heard at that point, you know, a handful of Nobuo songs, and this one was just like, whoa, he does this too. And it really started to show me his variety as a composer. But not only the variety here, it's the attention to detail, the love for the craft, right? Flamenco itself is a very, very old traditional genre in Spain, and it's a big deal, right? And not only is it a big deal, but like everything is the big deal. So like the dancer, the nylon guitar, and the castañuelas, aka the castanets, little tick 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 tick, and that's here. The he went out of his way to put all these important elements. And what's interesting though is that it adds elements that are typically not found in flamenco music. What's odd about that is that there's also, you know, bass in this song, which is very good, by the way, and it's very welcome. But bass is not usually in flamenco music at all. But in a way, you almost can't even imagine the song without that little intro, doo, 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 doo. And it's all over the place. It's kind of like this hybrid flamenco odd type song that like only Nobuo can make. But I don't know, just something about it. And it also has that vocal line. I think it's the only song that has like a little vocal line in it. So it has like all these little iconic elements. But let's be honest, the real reason why this song is so cool is because of Chocobo, Hot and Cold. Number 4 on this list, Festival of the Hunt. Oh my god, this song... I really wish it played in more spaces. It typically plays in one spot only, but if you do the optional side boss of Hades, which I did, you hear it again. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it fits better there. This song is so good that I'm positive the people at Square were like, we can't just have that one time in the game. We need to put that somewhere else. And it really fits as a boss song. But let's not talk about that. Let's go to where it actually plays, which is the Hunter Festival thing, or Festival of the Hunt. And there's this thing I've noticed with Final Fantasy that they do something very well, and it's a specific trope of song where it's like the chase type of song, like the kind of alert, urgency type song. This is that tenfold. It takes that idea and then makes an incredible song out of it. I can't get over how good this song is. Everything sounds like literally everything. Every sound you hear, every instrument, everything is just firing off. everything sounds so good. Every synth part, the sawtooth at about 40 seconds in, 45 seconds in, that little lead, oh my god. To me, this has the best percussion in the game. There's a lot of percussion stuff going on. Next time you hear it, try to listen to everything. There's even a triangle. Ding, 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 ding. There's a triangle in there. The toms going all crazy. There's something that's really funny about this song that completely unrelated, but it had kind of the same feel. Just kind of work with me here for a little bit. If you're familiar with Home Alone 2, the second one, the New York one, and you get to like the best part of the movie, which is the whole like traps and Kevin's building all these things. The song that is playing there kind of reminds me of this song, and it has the same sort of, you know, sense of urgency and like epicness. And without that song, that scene wouldn't be nearly as cool, right? So like, it's the same thing here. This song totally drives. I think this song can make anything into gold. Wherever you put it, it's just going to work. It's such a cool song, and I don't hear too many people talking about it. I don't know. I've never heard anyone say it's their favorite. It's really, really close to my favorite. But to me, Festival of the Hunt is a beautiful mixture of dynamic playing, really cool melodies, and just rarity of hearing it. All these things combined make it just in my top 5. Festival of the Hunt / Hades theme, which by the way, Hades is one of my favorite enemies in FF, or summons, whatever you want to call them. So that's a nice little bonus. But anyways, Festival of the Hunt rules. Entering the top 3 of my favorite songs is Endless Sorrow. This song has a lot of names. Endless Sorrow, Passing Sorrow, Dissipating Sorrow, and Unforgettable Sorrow. But the fact is, sorrow. Well, again, nylon guitar is such a beautiful, beautiful sound to me. It always is going to completely stick out. You know, the sound of a nylon string guitar is so beautiful, soft, peaceful, and it just makes, honestly, almost any melody seem borderline perfect. This one, to me, I mean, just to keep it simple, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's incredibly emotional. It feels very much like we're coming to the end of our journey. This is it. Like, it feels like we're wrapping up, and it just couldn't be in a better place. And I'm not going to spoil the story, but you know, what I said earlier about the Black Mage Village and that song being kind of in a odd spot, this is perfection to me because of what we know, right? Of these characters that are, they know what's coming, and not only that is they have taken in another species, I guess, and you know, they relate. So there's that beauty of not like being alone and sharing such a, you know, such a sad thing. It's just a really, I don't know, it's one of these kind of songs where it can sound really sad if you focus on the sad, but it can sound really beautiful and happy and hopeful if you focus on the beauty and the hopeful. To me, this is kind of an odd statement, but let's just say that when I heard this, where it played, I kind of knew what was going to happen with a certain character. I felt that my thoughts were becoming true, and it kind of helped with dealing with it later, I guess. So it kind of put a nice envelope seal to this journey, I guess. And it's just such a beautiful song, and I don't really, there's really nothing else to add. It is just, I don't know, it hits me right in my feels, I guess. And one more thing to add is that it's extremely relevant to this, is this song feels very much of acceptance. So if you can take what you know and then apply it here, that's what makes it incredibly strong for me, is the acceptance of events and Let's just leave it there. My number 2 song is Terra, and this is after you enter the Shimmering Island. This song was interesting for many, many reasons. It did not catch me right away because I was, just taking the story and, whoa, where am I? That kind of thing. I just met Garland, all that kind of thing. And listening to it back, it really made me feel like I missed out on that initial first time. I did like it. I did go watch, the VOD, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did see myself like catching it, but it's nowhere near how I feel about it now. This song is way up there because of so many little intricate details that probably go missed, like it did for me. But looking back on it now, I can kind of see things. First of all, number 1, for those that don't know, my favorite composer of all time is Ennio Morricone. And if you've heard him or seen the movies that he's composed, you may know where I'm going with this. But everything that reminds me of Ennio Morricone is automatically way up there for me. And I don't know if I'm going to do this, but I'll probably put like a tiny little footage of something to kind of like go along with the song to give you an idea. These kind of songs paint huge pictures, and every time I hear stuff like this, it puts me in just a very visual mood, and I start paying attention to everything. It's very artistic to the max. There's a harp playing in this one, and it's oscillating between left and right, going dring, 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 dring. The thing about this, though, that goes a little above and beyond for me is the fact that it sounds kind of like a hollow piece of music. Like I can only imagine it like a tube or something, and like the notes are just kind of like floating in there, but nothing else is in there. And guess where this plays? It plays during the genome thing and vessels and emptiness. So it kind of it really, really, really fits to me. Just like other songs I mentioned prior about the setting fitting perfectly with the song, this is another top example of that. But one thing that was brought to my attention, which I did not notice, and I'm really glad that I caught it, is that this is kind of like a darker version of the main theme, A Place to Call Home. The main opening theme you hear when you start the game. It's the same motif, but darker. So in a way, that song, A Place to Call Home, it's kind of pretty clear cut what the title means, where if you take the antithesis, it would be you have no home, you got nothing. So again, it all relates to this kind of empty, hollow vessel type feel. But on top of that, at the end of the day, the use of the harps, the nylon guitar, and then it just reminded me so much of Ennio Morricone that it's my second favorite song. And now let's get into some honorable mentions. For my honorable mentions, I actually have quite a bit. For the other videos I've done just a handful. This one, I'm going to have a lot because I'm telling you, narrowing it down to 20 is extremely hard. And I feel like some of these could have made it, and they just barely got outshined. I'll try to talk about them as much as I can, but we have Steiner's theme. Fits him totally perfect. I love Steiner. Reminds me of kind of like Danny Elfman type vibes for his song. Really, really good. There's Tragic Love. There's the normal battle theme. There's Melodies of Life, so I actually preferred the Song of Memories version, and I want to talk about this one just a little bit because Melodies of Life is obviously a really beautiful song, right? There's no denying that. It's just I don't know how else to put it. Basically, besides I just preferred Song of Memory. I didn't the lyrics and the vocals are fine, but to me, it sounded superior, my opinion, with just the vowels singing it and humming it along like that. So, song Melodies of Life is really good, but I don't consider it like the main theme. I don't know if it's supposed to be or anything, but in my opinion, it just I don't know. I just prefer Song of Memories more. That's all it is. I really like the song of De Guerro, the library. It was really cool. I actually like that place quite a bit. Ukulele, the Chocobo. I've never mentioned a Chocobo song until now. I actually really like that one. Dun, da, 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 da. It's really good. Ifa, the Ancient Tree. This one, I would consider less of a song and more kind of like an ambient thing. So since this is the top 20 of songs, that's why I didn't make it. But it's definitely super good with the whole creepy synth chords and I love the Ifa Tree soundtrack, but it's just more on the ambient side. Place to Call Home, the main theme of the game, very catchy and kind of makes you just feel like. To me, this is like the main theme of the game. So I don't know if that's. I don't know what the main theme of the game is supposed to be, but to me, it's this one. So that's just my opinion on it. Esto Gaza, this was originally going to be in my top 20, but I flipped it for Sword of Doubt. It was going to be number 20. I was stuck on those two for a while, but the only reason I didn't go with Esto Gaza is because as cool as it is, and it only plays one time, because you can't revisit it, it's, again, a unique, different variety. Now we have jazz, but there's just not a whole lot going on with it besides this. It just sounds really good, but not a whole lot happens with the song afterwards. It starts really strong and then just kind of gets into a vibe. So vibe-wise, it's immaculate. But Sword of Doubt just kind of beat it. And then finally, in the same spot is Mount Gulag. And it just sounded really cool. It reminded me of a Sonic song, and I kind of wish I heard it more. So those are all my honorable mentions. Let's be honest, they are all good, okay? It's super hard. It's super hard. If you can do it, by all means, but these are mine. And out of 110 songs, I have to give them all love. But the thing you've been waiting for, my favorite song in Final Fantasy IX, no. Number 1, Tetramaster. What can I say about... I'm just kidding. It's not Tetramaster. But shout out to this game because I hated it at first and then grew to like it. But let's actually go to the number 1. My favorite song of Final Fantasy IX, Who Saw This Coming, is Not Alone. You're Not Alone. This is a very, very, very powerful song for many reasons. And a lot of the reasons are the same reason why I chose my number 1 for 7 and 8. For 1, it only plays in one spot, so it's extremely important. The first time I heard it, it was a reaction video, and even then, I knew. Even when I reacted to it, because I heard it before the game and I heard that song, and then immediately after I heard the Distant Worlds version. And I just remember being floated away into a different space and how different it sounded than everything I've heard. And then still now, it sounds unlike anything in the soundtrack. It sounds so iconic, beautiful, hopeful, lovely, strong. It sounds really strong, right? It's such an emotional spot. It's the closest I came to crying. I don't really cry, but it got up there, And it's kind of a really super relatable thing with life and friends and wanting to be left alone and all that. It hits home. It hits home. But musically, there's just a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. It's in my favorite key, which is A minor. Just such a universal key. It can kind of go anywhere. It sounds sad yet kind of... I can't explain the song without just blabbing, but it's just... Let's just see what I wrote down. It can enhance other songs. So if you recall earlier, this might blow your mind, and maybe you've heard it, maybe you didn't. But earlier I talked about the village of Dolly. And earlier I also mentioned Dark Messenger, how it kind of built up to the song. If you paid attention, the main melody of Village of Dolly is the chorus melody of Not Alone. It sounds a little different, but you'll hear what I'm talking about. So in a way, I feel like the way that this song can enhance another one subconsciously without even thinking about it For example, the reason I say that is because I told 3 people that have played this game for years that little tidbit that I found out, and all of them said, I never knew that. And that makes so much sense as to maybe why I like Dolly so much or something like that. So I caught it right away because I'm like really listening to it. So it has the power to enhance other songs. Favorite key. Doesn't sound like anything else. I knew immediately that nothing else sounded like it. It's extremely catchy. It does what it needs to. And the fact that it plays during the fights, you know what I'm talking about? Like, that is really, really special. All the character arcs, people like, showing love for Zidane. And here's the other thing. And this may sound like a hot take, but every character has their own theme. Zidane has a theme in this game. I don't even know what it sounds like, but I know he has one. But to me, this is his theme. Now, obviously, that's not, what's on paper, but to me, this sounds like his theme. This is the big moment for Zidane, and it's such a beautiful thing to witness. That I really have no idea what his actual theme sounds like, but it's like I don't care in a way because nothing's going to top this one. Another funny thing is, a lot of people agree that this is their favorite. I didn't know that, but you all have good taste because typically I noticed I'll have like different taste than other people, but I guess universally this one is quite loved for a good reason. We can all relate to this section. It just does what it has to do. It's fighting your inner demons, and I believe this is the only song, I could be wrong, that has choir in it. So that's another powerful thing about it. I can't really say, I mean, everything I've said in my reaction video. I gush on it all the time. It's just my favorite song. Like, I knew it from the beginning. Not only did I know, but I was quite confident hearing it the first time that nothing was going to top it. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this may be, I don't know, it's hard to say these kind of things on camera, but this may be my favorite Nobuo Uematsu song. Not Final Fantasy and not Final Fantasy 9. It might be my favorite. The reason I don't know that is because that's a really hard thing to choose. But this is up there. Let's just say safely it's in my top 3 of Nobuo Uematsu catalog. That includes every game I've heard him in, not just Final Fantasy. So, anyways, not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone in thinking this is probably the best song. You probably saw it coming, but there's a good reason. There's a good reason that I don't think anyone would ever even call this song overrated. It's just the best song in FF9. That's it. Obviously, opinions are opinions, but this is a big one. And for me, like I said, it's just I knew, and that's my list of FF9 top 20. So I thank you for watching. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of information. If you want to see my playthrough of FF9, it's right here at Jesse's VODs. I recorded the whole thing, and you can see me play along and fight Ozma and all that stuff. But I wanted to give a big thank you to you watching because you probably suggested that I play this game. I originally did not want to play this game at all, and I'm glad I did. It's one of my favorite Final Fantasies for sure, and now I am a part of you guys. We can nerd out and talk about all these things. And a big thank you to my Discord, who you're about to see, and they gave me all their favorite songs. And I hope you stick around for the end, where there will be a special performance of, what's it called again? Endless Sorrow by Harpsiboard, a friend of the channel. I will see you dudes and dudettes later. You're not alone.